brainstorming. Rain stay pouring all over the court. Check your trade scoring. A rational activist. Others remain dormant. Factual passages. Able to wage war when time call for it. Burn fire upon corporate setting his back. Sun is fall forward. See the big picture. Don't get stuck on small portraits. Tap resources. Your three inner forces. Mind, body, and soul working like piano chords. Linking the piece together from the root like Neanderthals. Reserving and the militant behavior when I convert into the cross satanic spiritual savior. Words that are used are the truth if I never gave ya anything else in your life. Remember words that I breathe on this mic. I print people a copy to read what I write. Tell it fast like Mach speed on a bike. Like a native chief, I speak and bring peace with a pipe. Subtle as a thief in the night with beats in the light. Check the I'm blacking out like Slobodan Milosevic. Hold that, take some with you. Eternal pain when New Jerusalem hit you. Fall back, don't press the issue with script, lock, script, check, Bethlehem officials.
Yo, what is up? What's poppin', people? How you doing? Bigger Forward Entertainment. Figured I would come in here real quick later tonight and just do a little bit of talking about the Avatar movie that I just seen. Just came back from it, and right off the bat, I'm gonna have to say it was pretty good. I liked it. I personally wasn't a big fan of the first Avatar movie. The first Avatar movie was like kind of a Dances with Wolves type of movie, and it just didn't feel it, but I went into this one thinking, it's Avatar, probably gonna hate it, let me go see it anyways, because I'm pretty sure there were a few people that wanted to talk about it, do some reviews on it. Hey Dandelion, how you doing? So I decided I'll go see it, got tickets to go tonight, and I was pleasantly surprised, to get the elephant out of the room. It's a 3-hour and 15-minute movie, but it did not feel like 3 hours. The story kept me pretty much entertained while I was watching it. It does have, I guess you would say, in the middle, it does kind of drag on. I'm going to try and talk about the movie without spoiling it all. Maybe later on, depending on how long the stream goes, I may get into a little bit of spoilers, but right now I'm just probably not going to spoil it. But it kind of has the same beats as the first one as well. You know what I mean? But I think it was done better. The first one, like I said, if you watch Dances with Wolves or any type of movie like that, you kind of get the story of the first Avatar. Glad you liked it. Still not sure if I'm gonna see it. I would say if you want to see it. The visuals in the theater were fucking amazing. I can't even lie. Like the visuals of this movie are fantastic. Do you have to see the first one to get to know this one? I would say it's better that you do know the first one before you walk into this one, right? This movie takes place actually 13 years after the first one. Jake, who was the Avatar, the human that turned Avatar in the first one, he's pretty much the leader of that clan by the time we get to this movie. He has some kids with the girl, can't remember her name, is slipping my mind right now, but he does have some kids with her. They have 4 kids. One of them was pretty much adopted because, again, I don't want to spoil it, but one of the kids was actually Sigourney Weaver's character, her avatar. If you see in the first one, her avatar ended up getting pregnant. They don't explain how, but ended up having the baby, and Jake and them took the baby in. There was also a human boy involved in it, and the human boy was the son of the bad guy in the movie, in the first one. Don't really know how that happened either. I'm pretty sure we'll get more explanations in the other movies, right? Or maybe I wasn't paying attention and I just missed the part where they explained it. But yeah, so with that being said, story starts off, they're leading the clan and they show them having the babies and stuff like that. They ran pretty much the humans off of Pandora, but they come back, obviously, right? A few of the humans stayed. So the 2 scientists that were with Sigourney Weaver in the first one, they stayed on Pandora. They even had their own avatars as well, still, which they were using. So that was pretty good to see them. But they weren't they weren't in it much. They weren't in it much. We had a few flashbacks to Sigourney Weaver in this one. They show some flashbacks and they show her in there. So that was pretty good. But from what I hear is, and I didn't check the credits, but the daughter was actually played by Sigourney Weaver, right? The voice was, and you could kind of hear it when she talks. So that was kind of interesting with what they did. So, anyways, basically they're teaching their kids how to be the avatars, how to live, how to hunt, and all that stuff, how to use their tails and stuff and connect with everything. And you see them looking at the stars and you see a bunch of lights. And when they say a bunch of lights are coming in, it shows that the humans are coming in. So the humans come back to Pandora. Um, they attack them a couple of times. Then you get to 1 year later and you see that the humans have pretty much built a little colony somewhere on Pandora, right? And the bad guy, the bad guy from the first one, he's back in this one as well, right? I'm not going to explain how he comes back because I don't think it's really much of a spoiler, but I know if people want to watch the movie, they probably want to know, wait, how does he come back or this and that, right? So, but anyways, he does come back in the movie and his mission is just to get Jake, right? Because the only way that they can take over Pandora is to kill Jake. There's a reason why they want to take over Pandora too, which gets explained in the movie. I'll leave that for everybody else that wants to, see it. Won't spoil the reason why they do that either. Let me see this. I thought I was the only person who never was the first one. I was looking at that. I'm not alone. Yeah, I mean, again, like the first one, like I said, to me, could have been so much better. But there was just something about it that I didn't connect with. But when I was watching this one, I was like, okay, I'm invested, even when, okay, so when I say it has the same type of beats as the first one, right? In the first one, Jake's part of the human, they call them the sky people. So Jake's part of the sky people. He meets up with the avatars, he falls in love, he becomes one of the avatars. So this one, when Jake actually finds out that, they're hunting for him, he takes his clan, right, his family, and decides he's going to leave the clan and he's going to run, which it's kind of not like Jake from the first one, but I can understand he has kids now, and he's like a straight up father. You know what I mean? He cares about his kids. He doesn't want his kids to get involved in any of this. He doesn't want them to get hurt, so they run. And when they run, they find the water avatar people, right? And ask if he could stay with them. And they're hesitant at first, but they're like, you know what? Okay, you guys can stay here. So the middle of the movie is basically them adapting to the new lifestyle of the water people, right? In the first one, it was him adapting to the lifestyles of the avatars that he was connected to. So that's why I say it's kind of the same beats. He's in there, his family in there. They're learning how to swim and connect with the water creatures this time instead of like the air flying in the woods and stuff like that. But anyways, to make a long story short, the avatar that was Sigourney Weaver's daughter, they go underwater. They have that little tree. Remember the first one, they had that tree that they were connecting to, and that was the one they were protecting, the spiritual tree. Well, the water avatars have it too, but it's underwater, right? She tries to connect to it, has some sort of seizure. They call the scientists from the first one to come help and find out what's going on. And that's how the general ends up finding where Jake and his family are, right? He's like, okay, they're in this area. So what they do is they go, because there's a bunch of islands in that area. There's so many islands, it's going to be hard to find them. He goes there and he's just grabbing each tribe and he's holding them hostage, asking them where Jake is, threatening to kill them, and they're not giving it up, right? Because the king, the one who's the leader of the clan, basically told them nobody mentioned Jake, nobody tell them where Jake is, and they actually stuck with that, even when their lives were in danger. So the only way to get Jake out was to hunt some of the water creatures, right? And the people that the general contacts, right, they're there to hunt the creatures, but they do it like away from the water avatar guys. They do it away from them. And when he's like, we're gonna hunt here, they're like, no, we can't do that. We're gonna get attacked. He's like, I don't care. We're trying to get Jake out there and stuff like that. So they do it, Jake's family gets kidnapped, right? By them. They get caught like 3 times in the whole movie, to be honest with you. Right? So it's like, okay, let me see this one. Didn't really sound like a movie that would catch my attention. Um, I don't know. I think if you like visuals, you know what I mean? You want to go to a movie for like visuals and see great new worlds and stuff like that. That's what Avatar, the first one, pretty much was. And even the 3D in the first Avatar was like groundbreaking. You know, I didn't see it on IMAX, right? So I can't really say it was like groundbreaking. I can't say that this movie did things that I've never seen before. It didn't. Like I said, the visuals were fantastic. They looked great, but it just wasn't like one of those movies where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. Like this is so amazing." You didn't get all of that, but I did enjoy the story. I did think that the story was entertaining, even when we were getting the parts where they're learning to use the water and how to be one with the water. I was like, okay, I expected this, so I wasn't sitting there saying, oh my God, I can't deal with this. Usually I'm checking my watch for these long ass movies and be like, okay, it's time to go. Like when me and my son were talking about, he was like, yeah, when I went to go see the Batman, I was like falling asleep. I was checking my watch. I was like, yeah, me too. But in this one, I was entertained throughout the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, I'm digging this movie. And some of the action scenes were pretty fucking good too, So I was like, yeah, it's not a bad movie. Um, Danny asked me after I seen it, he was like, do you think it'll make $2 billion? I don't know if it will. I really don't know if it'll make $2 billion. But I promise you it'll make $1 billion easy. The theater that I went to was pretty much empty because it was a theater that really nobody goes to. And the reason why I went, because they had reclining chairs, you could drink beer and stuff there. So I went to that theater. Plus, the one I usually go to with the IMAX screen was sold out. Like every time was sold out. If I bought a ticket there, I'd have been sitting up in the front, and I wasn't doing that. So went there, had a comfortable seats, was chilling, pretty much enjoying the story. I mean, when it gets to the final fight, it's kind of it was kind of a little bit underwhelming. It wasn't exactly what I was thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this big, really major, epic fight, and it started off that way, right? When they find out that the kids have been taken, they get the Water Clan, and they all go to attack, and they have this big fight. But then it ends up just being Jake, his wife, against the general and his crew. Like I don't even know what happened to the rest of the water people during the last fight. That's one thing I can say. I'm like, where the hell did everybody else go? Because they didn't die. So everything is better with Bill. Yeah, absolutely. What up, Wolverine? How you doing? Thank you for popping in. Much appreciated. So I don't know where they went. That was an issue. Like it's not a perfect movie. Absolutely not. There's a few issues with it. Like I said, when the battle starts going off, like where did everybody else go? I'm like, but something happens in the movie and Jake's wife, I can't remember her name, slips my mind. She fucking loses it though. And when she is attacking that ship and fucking, because the general's crew, they all had their own avatars, right? And we all know the general died in the first one. So, like I said, I won't explain how he comes back, but he does have his own avatar suit, and he's running about think maybe there's 5 of them that have their own avatar suits as well. And the first time they buck up on them, the first time they have an encounter with them, it's pretty intense. You know what I mean? The fight is pretty tight. But at the end, she is just going off. She is fucking killing everybody, you know. And there's a human kid. Like I said, the human kid is end up being the general's son. Again, don't ask me how that happened, but he's the general's son. And she pretty much was, and he was actually a part of Jake's clan, right? They called him, they actually called him Monkey Boy, to be honest with you, you know. And since he was a white kid, I was like, okay, but you know what I mean. Oh, and one thing I have to say is, because I don't remember from the first one, but everybody had fucking dreads. Like all of the avatars, even the little white boy had dreads. I'm like, wait a minute, why does everybody have dreads? It's like, you know, braids, their hair is braided, or there's dreads. And I'm like, well, are they trying to say that these are actually black people? And when I'm watching the movie, right, the white people in this movie are fucking, they're all crazy. Like, they're all fucking crazy. So I'm like, I can't wait to see all these woke YouTube channels that are going to be running around saying, oh, Avatar is woke and they make the white people look like evil bad guys and this stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see if I hear any of that. I probably won't, but it'd be interesting to see, because any other time it's like, yeah, white people are being villainized and blah, 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 and all kinds of stuff and all of that crap, you know. Let me see what Eyes Only said. I thought Anzo was still healing. Healing? Healing from what? What do you mean? Oh, you sound very stuffed up. Are you sick too? Oh yeah, I was sick, and I'm still getting over it. I still have the cough, and yeah, I am a little bit stuffy. Absolutely, I'm on the mend, but yeah, I still have it. Like if you hear me, you'll hear me coughing every now and then. That there's still like phlegm on my chest, and you know, when I went to the theater, I made sure I wore my mask as well. So, but if I had to rate the movie, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10, right? I can't give it a perfect mark. Can't give it a 9 because, like I said, there were a few things in there where I was like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? But James Cameron put together a pretty decent movie, you know what I mean? Again, it had a lot of beats from the first one, but I didn't feel like it was like a carbon copy of Dances with Wolves or any other type of movie that I seen. The first one, straight up, 100% to me was a carbon copy of Dances with Wolves, Ferngully, all those movies that people say it's connected to or is like 100% on the first one. Second one, not so much, you know. But one of the things that I didn't like is that when Jake, like I said, when Jake found out that General came back, he took his family and he ran, you know, and then you don't hear nothing about his clan ever again. We don't know if the General attacked them or anything like that, you know, because that's what he was looking for. And sorry about that, I had to take some of my drink. And he goes to the spot in the first one where he dies. Right? He goes to the spot where he dies and he doesn't know how he died because he died before his conscience got put into the avatar. So he doesn't know how he died, but he ends up finding out. He knew it was Jake, he just didn't know how he died, right? So then he ends up finding out because he goes to the spot where he died. They have the archives there, whatever, and he reads, watches them, and sees what happens. So he has a vendetta against Jake 100% and Jake's girl. Like he wants to kill her. And she says a line. She's like, I will kill you whichever, when, how many times you come back, I will kill you. There was one scene in the movie though where me and my son both said at the same time, there's always a bigger fish. And if you know Phantom Menace, you know what we're talking about, right? You know, Qui-Gon says there's always a bigger fish. We both said it at the same time when the scene happened. We're like, there's always a bigger fish. But one of Jake's sons, he connects with one. You see, remember in the first one, right? They had that little whatever dragon that nobody could tame, and Jake was the one to do it. Well, it's kind of the same thing in this one. There was a they're like these huge looking whale types, whatever, right? It was considered an outcast, and Jake's son kind of connects with it, and that's how he gets caught because he goes out there, finds out the hunters are actually hunting these whales, and they're taking something from their brains, and it stops humans from aging. Like it just says this stuff here stops humans from aging. It takes like a little vial. You don't get much from the brain, so it's like a little of vial, right? Kind of like if I compare it to if you ever seen Turtles 2 of the ooze, pretty much that size, not much, and that's pretty much why they have to like get a lot of them because that little one valley says worth like $80 million or whatever. So he goes to warn the whale type of creature that hey, they're coming for you. When he gets there, it already has a beaker in it, right? It's how they track them, and then they're trying to pull it out. The kids are trying to pull it out, and boom, and that's when the sky people come. Calls his father. His father brings the whole water crew with him. They go and attack, and then, like I said, the water crew just ends up pretty much disappearing throughout the fight. They do a couple of things, and then they disappear. And when I say the beats too, because when they go to talk to the water people, the king, the leader, he's like, yeah, we got to help them. But the wife is like, this like hisses, no, we can't do that. And they're peaceful people. They're not about war. So he tells them like, listen, you can't bring your war here. But obviously, because they find out that Jake is there, well, Jake brings the war there. So speaking of sick, I better get to bed or I'm never going to get over this bronchitis either. Have a good night. Good night, Dandelion. Take care. Take care of your bronchitis. Hope you get well soon. To be honest with you, the way I'm coughing and stuff, that probably could be a little bit of bronchitis that I have too. I don't know. But I'm okay. I'll just ride it out. I'll just ride it out, and hopefully in about a couple days I won't have to be stuffed up like this. It's hard to talk about the movie without really spoiling it and giving away major details of the movie. So I'm trying to be careful with what I say because it just came out today, so not a lot of people haven't seen it. I see Perp did a review on it. I just quickly glanced to see if he liked it. He thought it was pretty good too. So it seems like people are enjoying the movie. I would have liked to have seen it with a bigger crowd to see how they interacted with the movie. There are some funny moments in it. There's some heartfelt moments in it. You know, Kira said going to watch it tomorrow. Hopefully, it's better than Wakanda Forever. Well, it's definitely better than the Batman. Kira, 100%. It's like 10 times better than the Batman. We already know the Batman was fucking trash, but Avatar 2 is 100% better than that movie. More action, you know, visuals are great. Like I said, and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. So you gotta expect that it's gonna get to points in the movie where you're sitting there like, okay, you know, could drag on a bit. Some people may find it dragged on a bit. I didn't because I guess, and I'll say this: the movie is more about the kids than it is about Jake, right? We follow the kids a lot in this movie. We follow Jake's 4 kids more than we follow Jake and his wife. It's pretty much all about them. But then when Jake has to get involved, he does get involved. But we learn how the kids are coping with, living in the water world or whatever, and how they're adjusting to this and how they're getting in trouble, and how one of Jake's sons is pretty much, yes, dad, whatever you want, I'll do this. And then you have the younger one who's kind of a rebel. It's not really like he's a rebel, but he feels like he's not seen, right? He feels like he's in the shadow of his older brother. So he kind of does a lot of things in the movie where people are like, where, everybody's like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And his older brother was always taking the blame, like always saying, hey, dad, no, it wasn't him. It was me. I'm sorry, dad. It was my fault. I should have watched him better, stuff like that, right? And the first sign about that is when they first meet up with the sky people and Jake tells them, you guys need to get out of there as quick as possible. First off, they tell them they shouldn't even be in that spot, right? The spot where the general died in the first fight and they had the big fight at the end. Jake tells his kids, like, you're not supposed to be there, but they go there anyways. And the biggest issue was they went there and they took Jake's youngest daughter as well. So Jake has an older son, a middle, then the younger daughter, and then Sigourney Weaver's daughter that they adopted. So those are the four kids, and then they have the human kid that comes around, and they say he's like, it's like, oh, he's like a stray cat, you know what I mean? He comes around, he's this and that, and Eyes only said Anzo, I don't mind spoilers. Yeah, I know you don't, but some other people watching may not want to hear the spoilers, so I won't say anything. Um, there's a I'm saying there's there's one death in there that's pretty like, oh shit, wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. So that was a pleasant surprise to me. Whenever I go into a movie and I see something that I don't expect, I'm like, oh shit, they really did that. You kind of get hints of it throughout the movie, but I wasn't sure if they would really go there. KDOT sent a $3 super sticker. Thank you, KDOT. Much appreciated. Let me know what you think of the movie tomorrow. I know Tim is going to see it this weekend and probably going to talk about it. He said he'll invite me on there, so I'll probably go on there and talk about it there, where I could do pretty much more spoilers. Um, I'm not going to spoil it. It's the first night. If people in the chat want to know, say, hey, like, let me get some spoilers. I'll say, guys, I'm going to say something that's a spoiler right now, so you guys could turn it off, mute me, or something like that, so you don't have to hear it. But I can't really sit here and say that the movie was trash. Me and Chris, we were on fucking Chaos Central the other day, and we're like, yeah, the movie's gonna be garbage. It's gonna be this and that. And then you figure with a 3 hour movie, I thought I was gonna be bored, and I wasn't really bored with it. I pretty much enjoyed a lot of the movie, all of it. It took a while to get to the end, the fight end scene, right? I think like maybe it was like maybe 30 minutes till the end of the movie, you know. But there's a few things that happened throughout the movie where I'm like, pretty much kept me involved, kept me sitting there like, okay. And me and my son were sitting there, we're like, yeah, this isn't too bad, it's not boring at all. I understand the slow parts, but it's not boring at all. Grace Randalls has her spoiler review up. I'm pretty sure there are a few people that have their spoiler review up. I mean, if you guys want to know some spoilers, I can do it, right? I mean, there's really only 5 people watching anyway, so if you guys don't mind, I can just go ahead and spoil the movie, right? I mean, some of you probably weren't even going to go see it anyways. K-Dot said he's going to go see it tomorrow, so I don't really want to spoil it for him, but I mean, there's like I'm sitting there and like, can you really spoil the movie? You kind of can, you know what I mean? You kind of can, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just talking in general stuff. Um, so again, visuals are great, story is pretty good, action is on point. When the humans first come to Earth, they come with these ships, and they just like before the ships even hit the planet, there's this laser that comes on them and just burns like the whole forest. And I'm guessing that's where they built their base. So they burnt out the whole forest. And we already know how Jake's wife was in the first one when it came to like Pandora and the creatures and the environment, you know. She just starts like bawling her ass off and crying when they're looking at the flames. And then we get all of that, and it says 1 year later, and then 1 year later, the humans have their base set up, you know, and they have these little robots. They kind of look like crabs in a way, right? But they're like these little robots can build a house or build houses in like a few days. Like a few days, we can build houses. So I'm gonna spoil a part here for you guys. The reason why they're on Pandora is because Earth is dying, right? So in the first one, they're trying to look for a mineral on Pandora, right? In this one, they are trying to take over Pandora. They're trying to make Pandora the next Earth. The humans can't really breathe Pandora's air. Because you get the part where the little human there, he's like, "Oh, I'm jealous because you guys can breathe our air for hours without having to take a breath. But when I try to breathe your air, I can only do it for like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever time he said, right?" Well, I don't intend to see it. You should. You should, eyes only. You know what I mean? And even down the line to you should watch it. You know, it's a movie. It's not bad. I I'm not can't say I'm not a James Cameron fan, but I didn't want to be the one to contribute to this movie breaking $2 billion or even possibly being the highest grossing movie ever. But even if I didn't go see it, if that's what it's going to be, then that's what it's going to be, right? I could tell that there's still a high interest for Avatar, the colonizers return. Yeah, that is correct. And that's why I said, K Dot, I'm like, we already know how some of these YouTubers run around talking about how, they villainize white people in movies and they make us look bad. Well, the white people in these movies were strictly going to take Pandora away from fucking, I can't, the Navi. I think that's what they're called. I can't remember the name of the Avatar group. Kira said, what would be funny if this did endgame numbers somehow, but I doubt it will. You know what? When I seen Top Gun Maverick was coming out, I was like, yeah, Top Gun Maverick's probably going to make 700 to 800 million. And that shit blew up. And I didn't see Top Gun Maverick in the theater. So when I watched this in the movie, the only reason why I would say it wouldn't make those type of numbers is because it's 3 hours and 15 minutes, right? So that takes away from more screening times, but then you're also, if you have a big theater, you'll probably put it on more screens. Theater I went to only had on 3 screens. It had the 3D one, it had the regular one, and there was another one too. I don't know, maybe it was the high frames per second, right? Because if you go to look for the tickets, you'll see 3D and you'll see one that says HFS, which is high frames per second. So instead of it playing at the regular frame rate, they did it like they did with, what's the first movie to do it? Oh my God, I just watched a video on it too. And everybody complained about it, the way it looked. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, that's what they did. Kid, I said my main issue with Avatar 1 was that Jake was the living embodiment of white savior. Dude got their religion sanctuary burned down and now leads the tribe. You see, and that's what I'm saying. That's why, because if you notice, like what you said, K-Dot, it's usually, like that's the type of dances with Wolf storyline. That's what that was. The white man, he's going to attack the natives and then ends up falling in love with one of them and ends up joining them and ends up being the one to save them. This one didn't have that type of beat, obviously, right? But it did have the beats where, Jake had to learn the Navi way. Jake had to learn how to connect with the animals, the earth, and everything like that. Well, when they go to the water, they have to learn to reconnect with the water people, right? And then at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, Jake's like, we're gonna leave and blah 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 this and that. And the guy's like, no, you're a part of us now. And he's like, okay, so now I'm a part of this tribe. But I'm like, and this is one of the issues that I'm having. Like, okay, but Jake just left the tribe, right? He ran from that tribe, and once he's gone from them, we never hear from that part of the tribe again. Like I said, we don't know if the sky people attacked them looking for Jake or anything like that. It's just like, oh, they were part of that one, so we'll just show that Jake was there, and then boom, gone and forgotten about. But I'm also remembering that there's going to be like what, three more, four more, whatever, you know. And at the end of the movie, Jake says, I realized that we got to fight. So they're going to bring the war to that. Sounds like John Connor. I wouldn't say it sounds like a John Connor type of thing, but there's, like I said, there's similarities. James Cameron had a lot to do with the Terminator movies, so, but it's basically Jake's family was the fish out of water. You know what I mean? And they had to learn to adapt to a new way of life. And that's pretty much what the middle part of the movie was. And it was more of the kids trying to adapt. We see a few scenes where Jake's learning to, you know, use those creatures to go underwater. The people that already live there, they can live underwater a lot longer, right? And at one point, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, these guys are underwater for a long time. What they can hold their breath for that long, but you can see they can't stay there under very long because at some points they start like gasping for air, and they got to come up and get it right. But of course, there is a plot device where there is a creature underwater that they can connect to, and it helps them breathe underwater, right? They don't use it much in the movie, but at the beginning, when they're learning about the water, you get, hey, these creatures can help you breathe. And then towards the end, it comes into play, of course, right? So, but the general was just as fucked up as he was in the first one. He realizes, because when he kidnaps, when they first get to the planet, this is a little bit of a spoiler. He tries to kidnap Jake's kids. They get away because Jake comes and helps them, but he gets the little boy. He ends up realizing that the little boy is his son, right? So at one point, he's like, I know you're not gonna betray Jake and them, but they were torturing him. And he's like, if you don't come with me, the scientists are going to take you and pretty much start torturing you again. So he decides to ride with them. And it seemed like at one point he was getting close with them. You know what I mean? He's showing them how to connect with the creatures. And I was like, maybe they would flip. I thought maybe they were going to flip the script to where the human boy connects with his father in the avatar form and, maybe change his sides. But no, when they start doing the shit that they start doing, burning down villages and stuff like that, he's not for that right away. But he does do something at the end where I'm like, why did why did he do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why did he do that? So, spoilers coming up, guys, just to let you know. If you want to mute me or click off for a second, it's coming 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So at the end of the movie, Jake and the general, they're fighting. It's water. It's a pretty good fight. Jake chokes him out, and his body is just floating to the ground of the water. So when the kid, he's trying to help Jake's son and daughter who were chained up somewhere, he's trying to help them. He helps them get off, and then he sees that his father's drowning, and then he goes under there and he saves his father. But I think, what up, Tony? I think it had to do with the fact that when his life was threatened, the father was like, no, don't do it, right? Pretty much like, no, okay, don't kill my son. So, but when he saves his father's like, come with me. And he's like, no. And then he swims off and he goes back to Jake's tribe and stuff. So, and I don't even know if Jake and them know that he saved him, right? Because there's never really any explanation, or he doesn't say, where were you? Or I had to save my father, or anything like that, or that he's still alive, or anything like that. So, after seeing what his father did, I thought it was kind of weird that he would do that, especially when he has such a heavy connection to Jake and his family, but I guess he just, like, that's still my dad, even though it's not his dad, you know. So, another spoiler is coming up here, guys, because it's hard to talk about the movie without spoiling it. So, if you don't want to hear the spoilers right now, you can click off again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, we see at the beginning of the movie, when we show the general's avatar, he's watching a video recording. They give him a video recording to watch, and it's the general telling him that we're about to go and do this, blah blah blah, blah. And if I die, if you're watching this, it's because I died, right? So what they did is they took his memories and everything. Yo, what up? What up, nerd man? How you doing, man? Thanks for popping in. So we find out that he takes the memories, right? And all the memories are stored in this little cube or whatever. And that's what they put into the avatar. So that's why I said he tells him, he's like, listen, if you're watching this, I'm dead. You're not going to know how I died because it doesn't happen yet. And I'm not going to die. You know what I mean? But of course, he does end up dying. So that's why I said at one point, hey, Jason, what's up, man? That's why I said at one point he doesn't really know how he died, and then he finds out, right? It's a done. Want spoilers, so I'm out reading some other parts of the stuff I wrote. Yeah, man, and guys, Nerdman has on his channel. He said don't want spoilers. I understand that. Nerdman has on his channel. He has the first chapters of one of the books he wrote. So you guys should go check that out before he takes it down. It's not going to be up there very long. So go check it out. It's definitely a good story to listen to. 100%. I know he's made some comments, but I don't believe he does like superheroes with some of the films he makes. You're talking about James Cameron? Um, I don't want to sit here and say he doesn't like the movies or say that he's jealous of the movies, but there's kind of some things where he's kind of correct. You know what I mean? So, so one of the things is that was said. I don't know if it was him or somebody else, but they're like when you go to these movies, you're not going to watch Chris Pratt. You're going to watch Star-Lord. You're not going to watch um, Helmsworth because you're going to watch Thor. You're not going to watch Robert Downey Jr. You're going to watch Iron Man, right? But the problem with that statement is that it's been like that for a long time. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, if you were going to see a movie, you were going to see the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You were going to see the Sylvester Stallone movie. You were going to see the Bruce Willis movie. Now you're going to see Iron Man. Now you're going to see Avatar. Now you're going to see, you know, Man of Steel. You're not going to see the new Henry Cavill movie. You're going to see Man of Steel. And it's the same thing with anything else. Bad Boys. You're not going to see Will Smith. You're going to see the Bad Boys movie, right? So I think the names are what carry movies more now than the actors. Back in the day, it was the actor. You could put Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It could be Kindergarten Cop, and you knew it was still going to make money, because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not the same now, so you can't blame comic book movies for that. If it was James Cameron that said that, I can't remember if it was him or someone else, but you can't say that now. It's not the same thing, and if it was, that Rock movie, Black Adam, would have made $1 billion, you know, but it's not the actors that people go see anymore. It's the movies. Um, So another spoiler for the movie, guys. If you don't want to hear it, just make sure you mute yourself now. When I say there was something that happened in the movie, I was like, shit, I didn't think that was going to happen. One of Jake's kids dies in the movie. And I was like, oh shit, they actually killed one of his kids. And that's what makes his girl go crazy. That's why, like, when that fight scene came up at the end, she gets on that ship and she is just arrowing these people. She's arrowed one guy right in his eye. You know what I mean? She's killing them. She has no mercy whatsoever. And then before Jake starts to fight the general comes from around the corner and he has a knife to the daughter, Sigourney Weaver's daughter, anyways, the adopted daughter, neck. That's when she grabs his son and she puts a knife to his son. And even though that kid was a part of their tribe, she threatened his life because her son died. She was like, a son for a son. I am going to kill this kid right now if you do not let my daughter go. And the general's like, oh, I don't give a damn about that kid. He's not even my son. He's a different species. So she takes her knife and she cuts his chest. Right? Kid does a scream, whatever. Ah! And she grabs a knife and she's about to slam it into his chest. And he says, no, don't do it. That's why I think the kid ended up saving him at the end, because I think she was really going to kill him. Like, and even he probably thought she was going to. That's why I thought this. That's why I thought the script was going to change to where the kid was going to go and follow off as his father, because now he's like, yo, she just tried to kill me. Like, and he's pretty much throughout the whole fight scene, he's trying to help them. He's trying to save the kids because they call him cousin, right? He's trying to help them even when they're attacking the villages and burning it down. He's like, no, you can't do this. He's trying to help them. So I thought maybe at the end where she did that to him was going to be like, I'm going to switch up and I'm going to go with my dad. That's why I said at the end of the movie, he ends up saying, no, and then going back with Jake's crew. So I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if he had made that kid go with the father, right? And he knew all of, I'm going to call them the Navis. I don't remember if that's the name of the crew. I wish somebody in here in the chat remembered the first one would tell me that whether they are or not, if that was the name. But I'm just going to say the Navis for now, whatever. And he knows their whole secrets. And that's one of the things they were worried about when he got captured. It's like, yo, this kid knows everything. That's why Jake left, right? Because he's having a discussion with his girl and he's like, we got to go. We can't stay here. Everybody's in jeopardy if we stay here, because they call him Tiger? I'm trying to remember what name they were calling him. Anyways, they were saying he knows everything, right? Like, he knows the ins and outs of that tribe. So Jake was pretty much paranoid throughout the whole movie, worried about his kids. So that's why he did a lot of the things that he did in the movie, was to protect his family. But in the long run, he ended up bringing trouble to the tribe that he went to, right? Like I said, they were a peaceful tribe. They didn't, they had a rule not to kill, right? That was their rule, not to kill. And they explain in the movie why they have that rule and why they don't kill. And they had no intention of fighting or being in a war and anything. And Jake going there ended up bringing the war to them, so. But it's good. I enjoyed it. Like I said, my son enjoyed it. And that's pretty much of a test for me. My son enjoys it, then I know it's like, okay, it's not that bad, There are some things that I like that he didn't like, but, we both went to this movie. Like, I showed you the text, like, okay, this movie's probably going to be trash, but let's go see it. We've seen the first one, so we might as well see the second one. And didn't feel like that. She goes full Wanda, eh? She pretty much does. She pretty much does go full Wanda. It was good to see too, though, because I can understand. I would have probably done the same thing, you know what I mean? But to me, it showed that she didn't really have respect for that human kid, right? Because she's an original, right? Jake is, they call them, well, not Jake, but the kids are called half breeds, right? And Of course, they're not accepted at front by, the real crew, right? So they're like, oh, you're this, you're that, and then they had to earn the respect, of course, to be considered. It's kind of the same thing. Like I said, there's a lot of the same beats from the first one. Will it make a billion? I had this discussion with Danny earlier. He asked me if it would make $2 billion because James Cameron already came out and said Avatar 2 needs to make $2 billion for me to make a profit, which I don't know if that's true. I'd have to check what the budget was on the movie, but if it is, it may be hard to make 2 billion. I think it's going to make $1 billion easy. I think the first weekend is going to break records. It's possible that it may have a better opening weekend than Spider-Man No Way Home. Right? Because when I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, and remember, guys, I'm in Canada. So when you look at the breakdown of countries, that Canada's always like 10, 100 million. You know what I mean? Like that's, no, you probably wouldn't even get 100 million. Maybe get like 40 million from us, 50 million, something like that. So when I see that the theaters were packed and sold out, when I went to go see No Way Home, I got my tickets like a couple of days before it came out, was able to get good seats. This one, mm-mm, mm-mm. I looked at, because I work until 5, right? So anything after 6. So there's a couple theaters showing it. Some start at 6, some start at 7, some start at 10, some start at 10:20, some start at whatever time it started. The only seats that were available were the seats right up in front of the fucking theater. And if I were to go see it in IMAX, there is absolutely no way I would be able to enjoy the movie sitting there up in front, because the screen is so big. You're gonna have to look, turn your head from side to side to get the full picture sitting up in front. So I'm not doing that. If it's true about the 2 billion, that's a lot of money to lose. Well, it has to make 2 billion to make a profit, he said. Probably the biggest flop of all time. You know what? Let me go see if I can find out what the budget is real quick. I want to see if they have it there. Avatar 2, Way of Water, budget. Let's see if I can find the budget. Well, the budget was $250 million USD. That's what it says. Now, I don't know if that's included marketing. So if you include marketing, let's say it's not included, you include like maybe 100 more million for marketing, that's 350 million. If you go to the standard, which is times 3, let's see here, 350 million times 3. It shows here that it has to make at least 1 billion. 1,500,000,000 to make a profit. So, or to break even, sorry. So him saying 2 billion, it's kind of a high number, but also depends on how much they spent on marketing. I know this movie is full CGI, of course, right? Like every scene is CGI, so that alone probably costs a lot. But if it's $250 million, I think he was just blowing smoke because he wants it to make 2 billion. He wants this movie to be, I guess, the first or second high. He pretty much wants to have like the first 5 movies all his, like highest grossing movies. He probably wants them all to be his. The only reason why he re-released Avatar was because he got beat by Endgame. So like, we'll re-release Avatar. It'll make enough money to at least put it back on top, which it did. And it was also a refresher for a lot of people that plan on seeing two, right? I know most people probably have it on DVD if you're a fan or whatever. You probably own it, you know. But $2 billion, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough because if you look, I think it's really only like two or three movies that ever made $2 billion. Oh, many movies made 2 billion. Five. So there's only five movies that have made over $2 billion, and the two movies are Infinity War, Star Wars: Force Awakens, Titanic, Endgame, and Avatar. And Avatar was 100 million away from 3 billion. So, so we'll see. This movie will definitely have to have legs for it to make $2 billion. I don't know what else is coming out that could probably take away from it. Like even if the Mario movie comes out, it's still not going to take away from Avatar. Like I don't see anything in its future right now that's gonna, like if a Marvel movie was coming out like next week or 2 weeks from now, I'd be like, yeah, well, it might be hard pressed, but like there's nothing. I don't even know when the next Marvel movie is coming out, to be honest with you. But if I go to my cinema app and go to upcoming, I'll get a better view of what's coming out in the next couple of weeks. Hold on, give me a second. Just go to coming soon. Opening December 23rd. Whitney Houston movie. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing. So there's a possibility that it's going to have legs, right? Ant-Man doesn't come out till February, and that's the first Marvel movie I see on this app. So if that's the case and there's not a Marvel movie coming out until February, and I don't see anything else here on this list that would probably give it a run for its money. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say, yeah, it's gonna make over 2 billion. It's gonna make 2 billion because there's nothing else coming out. I remember that Titanic spent almost a year in theaters. Yeah, it did, but Titanic came out at a time where usually movies would stay long in theaters, especially if they were still making money. Now, because everybody has a short attention span, wants it right away at home, or they can watch it again in the comfort of their own home, right? Because when Titanic came out, it didn't have big flat screen TVs, like we have now, high definition 4K, anything like that. So the only way to really get a real movie experience was in the movie theater. But now it's like I can get a pretty good movie experience just sitting at home watching it. So I can't wait to see that Whitney Houston movie. I actually thought that movie was going to be like a Netflix or streaming service movie. I didn't know it was coming out in theaters. I'll watch it, but it's not going to have an effect on Avatar's budget whenever it comes out. If it were to come out next week, it would not have an effect on Avatar. And I'm pretty sure James Cameron knew when he brought it out that he was going to bring it out at a time where he has a good 3 or 4 months before a Marvel movie comes out. And if he does have at least 3 or 4 months, I can't see it not making $1 billion. And again, too, it's also word of mouth as well, right? So if people enjoyed it, they're gonna sit there and tell you, yeah, the movie's pretty good, and then more people are gonna go see it, right? The ones that were on the fence about seeing it. So it's definitely possible. What grade would you give this movie? Um, I gave the movie about an 8 and an 8.5. I definitely want to see it again to see if that would change. Um, because even though I liked Wakanda Forever, when I watched it again, I think my rating went down a little bit, but uh, I don't know. I might see it again and be bored through the middle half of the movie where they're just learning how to do the water stuff and all that. That might bore me at a second time, you know, because I think the one thing that it did lack is he didn't have enough action in between those times. You know what I mean? Like, I think he could have spread it out a little bit more. And that's why I said you could have put a few scenes in there where the general is actually hunting for Jake and he's destroying the tribes that he thinks he's at. You know what I mean? Like, the tribe that he was there, you could have shown him having attacking them and fighting them, which is what I thought would happen. But I have a feeling that in the third movie, more humans are going to come from Earth, right? And if it's because, like I said, the reason why at the beginning is because their Earth is dying, then I think the movie's probably going to end in harmony with the humans and the avatars living in harmony on Pandora. But we'll see if that's how it goes. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that's the route it's going, because one of the main themes throughout these two movies is their connection with the planet, their connection with the creatures on the planet, right? And then you got the humans that come in and they just want to destroy it from the minerals or whatever they're trying to do, but now they're trying to take over the planet because they can't live on Earth anymore. So I think it either ends with, humans taking over the planet, humans dying and not taking over the planet, or the humans and the avatars them finding peace and living in harmony. So I think that would be probably the way they would end this series. But that's just me. I'm not James Cameron. I don't know what his plans are. It's obviously that if he's doing 4 more movies or 3 more movies, he has a start, he has a middle, and he has his end. So he already knows how the series is going to end. So I'm pretty sure, you know, it's just maybe the in betweens that are going to change. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure he knows where the story is going. Um, I have no idea when part 3 is coming out. Should be maybe a year later, 2 years later. I know he cannot wait another 15 years, 13 years, or 10 years, or even 5 years, you know. So I think that they were filming this one and the next one kind of at the same time. So we'll see. I know as long as it does money, he's probably going to keep it in theaters as long as possible. And since there's no Marvel movie, no DC movies coming out until February, right? Unless Flash is coming out before that. But I seen Quantum of Solace, Quantum Mania, which is coming out in February, is going to be the next movie, right? Next Marvel movie, and that's in February. So we're December. So it's December, January, February. You know, I mean, December's almost over, to be honest with you. But 4 or 5 weeks to make $2 billion, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. How long did it take Spider-Man No Way Home to at least make $1 billion? Let me see something real quick. How long did it take No Way Home to make $1 billion? international take. So it took No Way Home 7 weeks to make $1 billion. That's interesting because it has maybe about 7 weeks before a Marvel movie comes out. So it has maybe about 7 weeks. So to make $1 billion, yeah, it's possible. But James Cameron said it has to make $2 billion. And I don't think it's going to make $2 billion by that time. And I don't care. Ant-Man 3 is going to make it lose money. Guaranteed when it comes out. If Avatar is still in theaters by then, No Way Home is gonna not No Way Home. Quantumania is gonna make it lose money for sure. So it's gonna be hard pressed to make. It's gonna be hard pressed to make $1 billion. I'm really curious to see what the first weekend, like the Monday box office, is gonna be when it comes out. I'm really curious to see what it's gonna be because remember when No Way Home came out, I was hearing all kinds of, this movie is breaking internet records and pre-sale records, and I didn't hear anything like that with Avatar. I never heard like, oh, Avatar's breaking pre-sales records. That's another thing I'm going to look at the Avatar's pre-sales. So it says China movie industry pre-sales for the new Avatar film surpasses 14 million in mainland. Avatar eyeing $525 million global debut. I guess it's playing in China as well. So if Avatar makes 525 million worldwide for the first weekend, whoo, that might be a record. Let me see what this is saying here. After years of hype and anticipation, the sequel to James Cameron's epic film is finally here. Avatar: Way of the Dollar, only a few days from its worldwide theatrical release, Deadline reports it's expected to debut at 525 million at the global box office, indicating that Cameron may be king of the world once again. Domestically, the film is tracking to launch between 150 and 175 million on its opening weekend, more than double the original 77 million debut. So far, domestic pre-sales for the film total 38 million, will put it far ahead of Top Gun Maverick, the current highest grossing movie of the year, but behind Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and Strange Multiverse of Madness. However, with the holiday season in full swing and a lack of significant competition in the following weeks, Avatar: The Way of Water has the potential to hold some strong legs at the box office. That's exactly what I said. I said there's no competition for it, right? Until Ant-Man 3. So if there's no competition for it, and people are gonna go see it. Like that's just a fact. Alongside the upcoming sequel's sizable domestic opening, early trackings estimate the film will splash its way to a 350 million debut overseas, which puts it ahead of Spider-Man: No Way Home's 320 million last December. 100 million of its overseas gross will be coming from China, with an estimated 21.8 million from pre-ticket sales alone. The release of the anticipated sequels follows the reopening of 80% of China's theaters following COVID-related lockdowns earlier this year, which will help the movie's global reach. You see, so that's another thing too. If China was locked down and now their theaters are just opening back up, people are going to want to go to the movies. And if Avatar is really the only thing to see, then it's going to make a lot of money in China. That's what's probably going to help it a lot, right? Because Spider-Man No Way Home didn't play in China. So, hi, I'm new here. My thoughts. I'm new here. My thoughts after seeing it. Thanks for popping in, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here to see it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. It's not better than the first film or unique like its predecessor, but it's pretty darn close. The best part of this film is insane amount of world building, also far more visual spectacular than the first one. So, Derpy, if I said your name right, 501, thanks for popping in once again. I personally wasn't a big fan of the first one because, like I said earlier, I thought the fan was kind of like a Dances with Wolves ripoff. So I wasn't a big fan of it. This one I did enjoy, but I do agree with you. There's not really much unique about it. I said there was nothing that I really said, oh my God, I ain't never seen anything like that before. But yeah, the world building and the visuals were absolutely amazing. 100%. Definitely on par or better than the first one, you know? 350 million worldwide would be sweet. Yeah, but it's on track to make 525 worldwide in its opening weekend. If that's what it's going to make, then it's possible to make $2 billion, especially with the fact that there's no competition. That money comes from IMAX 3D tickets. Yeah, but No Way Home had IMAX tickets here, but with it being in China, that's going to help. No Way Home wasn't in China. You know what I mean? No Way Home didn't show in China. I think No Way Home, if it showed in China, would have made, would have probably bumped it up there a lot. So, um, it's going to be interesting. I think that's what's going to be one of the most interesting highlights for me about this movie is to see how much money it actually makes. You know, all right. Uh, like if it can pass the third one, the first one. Again, the first one is almost at 3 billion. The first one was at 2,906,000 906,066,000. So it was really close to making 3 billion. What it says for Avatar. At the time, Avatar following the 10-foot Navi, yeah, because I was right, they were the Navi, on their home of Pandora became the fastest film to gross $1 billion, doing so in 19 days. It eventually crossed 2 billion in 47 days. Huh, huh, hmm. I just learned something. I did not know that it made $2 billion in 47 days. Fastest film to cross 1 billion, doing so in 19 days. Well, to be honest with you, if it makes 525,000 in its first opening weekend, if it makes that number, second weekend will be $1 billion. It's possible that it could make $1 billion in 14 days. That would be something. That would be something to see. That would be something to see. Because James Cameron would have done it again. You know what I mean? Titanic, Avatar, and now Avatar 2? Huh. And then if Avatar 2 does it in 14 days, we're not going to hear the end from this guy. Right? And I think a lot of the things he says about superhero movies is because, he's kind of butthurt that Endgame made so much money. Because when you look at it, right, superhero movies are tearing up and clogging up the industry right now. Like I'm not saying that they're not making other type of movies, but the ones that people are always talking about are the superhero movies. You'll get Transformers sprinkled in there a little bit, or something like that, or something else is coming out, but it's superhero movies. What's the next superhero movie? When is this coming out? What's going to be the phase 5? You know what I mean? That's all people are talking about. So when I was listening to Perp stream, he was like, it's a breath of fresh air to have maybe a movie that's not a superhero movie. And I kind of agreed with him on that. You know what I mean? I kind of like, yeah, it's kind of good to know that there's another movie out there that's possibly a blockbuster movie that'll make a lot of money that's not a superhero movie. So, hmm, um, I'm curious now. I'm really sitting here thinking, like, is this movie going to make $2 billion, or even more? Right? Maybe it hits 3 billion. I don't know. Fast and Furious 2. Yeah, Fast and Furious 2. They make money. They make money. Let me see. This article that I'm reading here about the five came out September 22nd, 2022. So if they're saying that in this, that it then is still the fastest movie to ever cross a billion, which was 19 days. And it did that in 2009 when it came out. So that was unheard of for then. So for it to go now and make 3 billion, maybe it'll be the fastest movies to 3 billion. It all depends on the legs. It all depends on the legs of this movie, right? And because I think there are a lot of people that will enjoy the movie, it's definitely a possibility that it can make a billion in 14 days. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on its box office. Plus, you also got to understand, like, it may make 525 million in the first week, but the drop off for the second week may be substantial. It may be a huge drop off, or it may not drop off that much at all. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I don't want it to do those numbers, to be honest with you. I like it, but you know me, like, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a superhero movie fan. When Endgame beat it, I was happy. I was like, yeah, Endgame beat Avatar, especially with the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of the first Avatar. But then it came back out and took the number one spot. Now, if this movie beats Endgame, I'm gonna feel the same way I felt when Avatar knocked Star Wars out of that spot, or when Titanic knocked, because Titanic was the movie to knock Star Wars out of the number one spot as the highest grossing movie of all times. It was Avatar. It was Titanic that did that, and then Avatar came along and knocked Titanic out of the first spot. So I'm gonna probably feel the same way about it if it does that, and my ticket sales, even though my $40 really ain't putting a dent in it if it makes over $2 billion, it's still a part of that $2 billion that it makes, or whatever it makes. So it'll be interesting to see. But I'll tell you guys this: if you want to see a movie that, like I said, great visuals, great story building, the acting was on point as well. You know, if you, if you want to see a movie, go see this movie. Chill said, I'm not likely to see it opening weekend. I want good seats in IMAX. Exactly, Chill. I didn't see it in IMAX, right? I couldn't see it in IMAX because I would have been sitting right up front. The theaters here were IMAX theaters, and like our really big theaters, Scotiabank, we call it. It was completely packed. Other fans will wait to see it next week. Exactly. That's why I think that it's definitely a possibility that the drop off for this movie won't be as big. You know what I mean? I think what Wakanda's drop off was around 63% from the first week to the second week. I don't think this movie will have such a big drop off. Even if it has like a 30% drop off, that's still good. Especially the fact that it made 525 million worldwide. That's still good. You know, if it makes, let's say it doesn't make um $1 billion in 19 days like the first one did. Let's say it makes 800 million, 900 million in the first 2 weeks. That's still fucking good, right? That's still on track to make $2 billion because, like, chill, people are gonna wait. Like, I know there's a lot of people that probably wanted to see it this weekend and didn't bother because they knew they weren't gonna get good seats. I happen to go to a theater that nobody goes to, to watch it. I think it kind of, I think it kind of, because the screen's not as big, right? Like even for like a regular screen, like not IMAX, but just a regular screen, it wasn't even as big as one of those regular screens. Um, so I think I lost a lot of the visuals and a lot of what the movie was supposed to be because I seen it on a smaller screen like that. But I did that because if I didn't, I'd be waiting till next week to see it, right? Because I'm not going during the week because I work and all of that. And then holidays are coming up, so we got Christmas, then New Year's, and those are big movie time events as well. People are gonna go to the movies around Christmas, you know what I mean? A lot of people take their kids to movies on Christmas Day. So, damn. DQ said I'm probably watching it Saturday. Um, I'd advise you, depending on what theater you're going to try and get your tickets in advance because you probably won't get any if you're going on Saturday, especially on a Saturday. I don't know where you usually go to the movies to see it, but yeah, yeah. I spoke to Chris about it before I seen the movie, and I'm like, yeah, I think it's gonna be garbage. And it starts off good. You get an explanation of where the Navi people are, what they're doing for the 13 years that have passed. And I kind of like the fact that, it was 13 years in real life and it was 13 years in the movie. I kind of like that. I kind of dug that. So, like I said, man, I mean, if you want to see a movie with great effects, some good fight scenes, world building, you'll enjoy this movie. Um, it's not perfect. It's really not. There are issues with the movie. Like I said, the final fight scene, the water Navi people just ended up disappearing. Like you could see like it's a whole crew of them going to attack the ship, and then when it gets into the middle of the fight, it's like, where did the rest of them go? Like, where'd they go? They didn't die, right? Didn't kill them all. So where did they go? So that was one of the issues that I had with it. But like I said, because I didn't enjoy the first one, I liked this one a little bit better. Well, actually, I did like it better than the first one. But my theater's usually empty when even with big movies. Yeah, so if you're gonna go to a theater where it's usually empty, that's fine. You know what I mean? You won't have a problem seeing it. But I still think like I still think it's gonna make money. I still think it's gonna make a lot of money. And the fact that it wasn't trash, right? You know me, I'm quick to come on here and tell you, yo, Avatar 2 was fucking trash. Don't bother with it. Don't see it. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying that because I wasn't bored. The Batman, I was bored. Like when I watched that movie, I was bored 100%. But I wasn't bored watching this movie. there was no parts to it where I was like, oh my God, will this movie just fucking end? You know, I didn't say that. And I enjoyed the fight at the end. Like, I enjoyed the action battles. I enjoyed watching them learn how to be one with the water and stuff like that. It didn't take away from the movie for me. So, and if it didn't do it that with me, because then it's not going to do that with people that are actual fans of the first one, you know. Derby said, like I said, he said it's not better than the first film, and I think there'll be people that will agree to that. But I don't think there'll be a lot of people saying that the movie is actually trash. You know, oh, I watched this movie and it just looked like another Dances with Wolves, or it looked like this movie, or it looked like that. I don't see people saying that for this one. You know, even though it takes a lot of beats from the first one, it's the same, but it's different, if you understand what I'm saying, you know. So it's definitely something people should go see. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to close it up because got to get to work tomorrow. I'm pretty sure this will not be the first review or the last review on it. I'll probably be on other people's channels if they want to review it, or if they ask me to come on to talk about what my thoughts about the movie. I'll probably pop on a few streams. But other than that, movie gets an 8 out of 10 for me. A lot of positives, few negatives in there. But overall, it's a pretty decent story. It's a pretty decent movie. Take care. You all have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Brainstorming, rain stay pouring all over the court. Check the trade scoring, irrational activists. Others remain dormant, factual passages. Able to wage war when time call for it. Burn fire upon corporate setting his back. Sun is fall forward. See the big picture. Don't get stuck on small portraits. Tap resources, your 3 inner forces. Mind, body, and soul working like piano chords. Linking the piece together from the root like Neanderthals. Reserving animalistic behavior when I convert into the cross satanic spiritual savior. Words that I use are the truth if I never gave ya anything else in your life. Remember words that I breathe on this mic. I print people a copy to read what I write. Tell it fast like Mach speed on a bike. Like a native chief, I speak and bring peace with a pipe. Subtle as a thief in the night with beats in the light. Check it coming I'm blacking out like Slobodan Milosevic. Hold that, take some with you. Eternal pain when New Jerusalem hit you. Fall back, don't press the issue with script, lock, slip check, Bethlehem officials.